southwestern part of what is known as the highlands of Guatemala, lies the remnant of what used to be the Los Chocollos volcano. A huge eruption dating back over 85,000 years ago carved a huge crater into the earth and changed the landscape forever. The massive hole that was left behind eventually filled with water and created what is known as Lake Atitlan. Today, the lake attracts many travelers around the world and is one of the most popular destinations for tourism in Guatemala. If you're itching to explore this place, rest assured that it is one of the safest places in the country. With that said, you still should use caution and use common sense when going on certain hikes and bike rides that are outside the boundaries of each village, not only for bandits and petty crime, but also treacherous terrain and severe weather changes. The lake is located about 70 miles west of Guatemala City within the department of Solola. There are more than a dozen villages and towns around the lake. The villages you should have on your bucket list to visit are Panajachel, Santiago, which is the largest town on the lake, San Pedro La Laguna, San Juan La Laguna, San Lucas, Santa Cruz, Santa Clara, and San Marcos. The Mayan culture is still alive and well around the lake, with traditional clothing still being worn. There are 22 distinct linguistic groups, not dialects, but completely different languages that are spoken around the lake. Lake Atitlan is renowned as one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. Its captivating beauty can be appreciated at whatever side you're standing on the lake. The word Atitlan translates to between the waters. The altitude of the lake sits at 5,128 feet or 1,563 meters above sea level. The three dominant volcanoes that surround the lake are Volcano San Pedro, Volcano Tuliman, and Volcano Atitlan. The lake is the deepest in Central America, at 1,120 feet deep or 340 meters. No one has ever been to or surveyed the actual bottom of the lake, but a submerged Mayan city of San Baj was discovered in 1997. That sunken city is still currently being excavated. There are several ways to get to the lake from the city. You can either take a chicken bus, rent a car, or a private taxi. It takes 4 to 5 hours by chicken bus, 3 to 4 hours by private taxi depending on traffic. Private taxi or car rental is the fastest route to the lake. On this trip, I took a private taxi as I knew I was going to be exhausted once I have landed. The private taxi I booked is called Adrenalina Tours. I was picked up by Victor and his service was excellent. He was accommodating, friendly, professional, and the ride was smooth for most of the trip. Not to mention it was filled with scenic views as we drove through the mountainside. If you need a private taxi, I highly recommend checking them out. It is a bit pricey for the ride, but if you want to get to the lake the fastest, safest, as well as enjoy the views as a passenger, this is the way to go. The ride from Guatemala City to Panajachel is $135 or 1,060 quetzales, as well as the ride back. Chicken bus costs about $40 or 313 quetzales. If you're driving, make sure to be extra cautious as traffic inside the city can get overwhelming. Once you make it to the mountainside, severe weather changes can cause flash floods and mudslides. Falling rocks and trees can also be hazardous and block roads along the way. Not to mention the upslope fog that frequently engulfs these highlands. Right outside of Panajachel, on the way to the town of Solola, you'll come across this very tall waterfall. It's part of the Atitlan Nature Reserve. Here you'll have a higher viewpoint of the lake, as well as go spelunking through a cave near the waterfall. You also have the chance to go ziplining amongst the trees. Many points of interest throughout Guatemala are far apart from one another. If you were to try to visit multiple places throughout the country, you'd be spending most of your time going from point A to point B. If you're on a short trip or only had one destination to go to, Lake Atitlan would be my #1 recommendation to travel to. There are plenty things to do around the lake, as well as visit nearby towns such as the old town of Antigua or Acatenango, one of the largest and busiest street markets of all of Latin America. Like most of Guatemala and Central America, exploring Lake Atitlan is a blend of both cultural and a natural experience. This is one of the major reasons why Guatemala is currently my second favorite place to wander and explore in the world. There are many options to choose from when looking for accommodation at the lake. It will also depend on what village you're exploring. In general, my preferred lodging is Airbnb when I travel. Sometimes a hotel, and on occasion a hostel for a couple of nights, especially if I want to meet other travelers from around the world. It's easier that way at a hostel. If you brought a lot of luggage, which I don't recommend, I suggest booking one location as your HQ and store most of your stuff there. Then book your other accommodations at the other village you're planning on staying at. That way you can just have your essentials, you'll be lighter, and you'll have a smaller footprint. If you pack light and your backpack isn't too heavy, then just take it with you as you go. During my journey on the lake, I stayed at two places. One of them was Clemente's place. I chose this place because it's situated halfway between San Juan and San Pedro, and it took half the time to get from one place to another. This place has also a perfect view of San Pedro. It has a balcony with a hammock where you can relax, brush up on your Spanish, or read a book during your downtime. The bed was clean, it has an AC unit and a fan, which are great since it does get humid here. The condo was furnished. It came with dishes, a coffee maker, towels, a fridge, microwave, and stove. The shower and plumbing worked great, which is one of the most important things, because as it gets more rural, indoor plumbing is a luxury. One thing to know, make sure not to throw away your toilet paper into the toilet, as it can clog the system. The Wi-Fi that it came with was a bit slow and it kept cutting out from time to time. If you need a more reliable internet connection, make sure to bring a pocket Wi-Fi or a SIM card. It also has private access to the beach. You do have to walk down some narrow sets of steps, which can get sketchy when wet. As you walk down the steps, you'll have an amazing view of the lake and San Pedro as your background and vegetation in the foreground. A perfect place to take some photos. The walk back up is moderate to somewhat strenuous in difficulty, so just keep that in mind. Once you've reached the bottom, there is a gate that you have to unlock with your keys. My overall experience at Clemente's place was excellent. It's in a great location, it's situated between two villages, it has a great view looking out into the lake and San Pedro. His communication was also excellent. It was helpful before, during, and after my stay. I would definitely stay here again and highly recommend checking his place out if you're looking for lodging in the area. Nestled in between the mountain cliffs and vegetation in the north side of the lake is La Casa del Mundo, an impeccable and unique place that has my highest review. It opened in 1997 by owners Bill and Rosie, whose initial plan was to build their dream home in Guatemala. Soon after construction began, they decided to open it to visitors to make a living. The house has the best view on the lake, with it being front and center looking out into Volcan Atitlan and Volcan San Pedro. The guest houses are cozy and the interior design of each room is well decorated, furnished, and has an attention to detail. It feels more like you're staying in a mini museum. It's filled with handcrafted artwork and textiles from artists around Guatemala. The plumbing was excellent and also had running hot water. There are 3 different types of rooms to choose from: deluxe, suite, and standard. I chose the one with a balcony, and that's what you should too. Due to it being in a remote place, they don't accept credit cards as payment. Make sure to get cash at one of the larger villages on the lake with an ATM before heading here. Alternately, they do take Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, or PayPal as payment. While they do have Wi-Fi, like most places around the lake, it's decent at best, but don't let that stop you from experiencing this place in person. The staff here are friendly and accommodating. Their kitchen offers different menus every night, and their food was delicious. activities you can find here is swimming, kayaking, and paddleboarding. While you can do these activities anywhere around the lake, this is a spot I would recommend doing them, as it's not crowded. It feels like you have the lake to yourself. If you've been traveling for quite some time and you're approaching your rest day on your trip, this is the place to rejuvenate. This is one of the best places I've stayed at around the world. From its location, architecture, picturesque views, amenities, activities, and food, this place is superb in all aspects. It has my highest accolade and would recommend staying here to anyone.